Hi, I'm Ford,
No. Christian Lum.
and this is our BlackJack GUI project.
Enjoy.
So like we said, we are group 21 or bus, consisting of Fordham Lee, Kunal Kaul, and me, Christian Lum. And this is our Engineering 6 final project. We coded the card game BlackJack. I was in charge of hitting, standing, and sounds. Fordham was in charge of ace tracking, player 2 implementation, and dealer logic. Kunal was in charge of the GIF use, score comparison, and result displays. We'll get all into the nitty gritties in that later in this video. In this game, the goal is to get the highest overall card hand with the value not going over 21, which would be considered busting. This game can be played with 1 or 2 players, both playing against the dealer. We have an example right here. The special features that we decided to include were the attachments of sound, such as the shuffle of dealing cards, the GIF implementation, which is referring to a dealer shuffling right before the game is played, and ace tracking, where the player decides whether he wants the value of an ace to be 1 or 11. Here's just a little preview of our gameplay. Another thing that we're going to get into is looking at the GIF. So basically, the GIF implementation is right here. We'll start it off right there. So as we press run to initiate our GUI, our special feature GIF pops up and disappears as soon as the riffle ends due to the imRead function. To find the save GIF, the RB image to play in the color, followed by a close function. This introduces our actual game window that appears as though a table is laid out in front of us, displayed by the .jpeg file as the background via imRead imshow. Just to show that again, you'll see it'll shuffle right here, and then we'll have the game. We have a how to play right here, so with the objective and everything, basically a recap of what I just said. And then 2-player would be right here. You can disable it once you press hit. You're not allowed to play 2-player. And then just recapping, we used guide to help us create our GUI. All right, that's it. Let's get into it.
The value 11 callback is the callback for the button on the aces panel that allows the player to determine whether an ace that he's been given has the numeric value of a 1 or 11 in his hand. This portion of the if-else statements helps determine if the ace is given to you in your first 2 cards for either player 1 or for player 2. It helps to determine if you want it to be a 1 or an ace, and if you have 2 aces off the beginning, it sets 1 to an 11 and 1 to a 1, so that you don't bust. This portion of the code allows the player to determine whether the ace is 11 or has the numeric value of an 11 or a 1 for cards that come after he has hit the hit button.
Hey guys, so we're going to be looking for that lucky ace to show you how it works. Let's get into it. Okay, so I would want to stand if that was me. And let's hit, ace. So awesome. So here we're going to be able to choose whether we want it to be value 11 or 1. If I choose 11, we'll bust. If I choose 1, we'll probably win. That looks like a 20. We'll stand at 20, I believe. So we're going to choose 11 because we're very smart. And we busted. Now here it shows the dealer wins, and yeah, because he's at 20, 19, and busted. Awesome, thanks.
Hit 1 callback uses a series of if-else statements to determine whether player 1, after hitting, either busts or doesn't bust, depending on the value of the card achieved, and lets him continue to the next hit to get another card. It uses a counter to determine where that card is being placed on which axes. It checks to see if that new card is an ace. If it is, then it opens the aces panel and allows the player to choose whether the value of the card is 1 or 11. It then adds a value to the hand and takes the card out of the deck array, both the image and the value. If the player busts, it gives you a message that you busted, and it gets ready to play for the player 2 if the player 2 toggle is on. If the player did not bust, then it continues to the next iteration of the logical cycle, and basically repeats for the next position of the next card. The hit 2 callback is very similar to the hit 1 callback. It is the hit button for the second or for player 2. It's only visible if you use the toggle for 2-player mode before starting before 1 player starts. It checks if player 1 has either bust or stood, and it won't let the player 2 do their turn until player 1 is completely done. And then it uses the same logic and operators as the player 1 hit to assign the new card image to an axis, assign or checks to see if that new card value is an ace. If it is, then it allows the player to choose whether that number is 1 or 11. If you bust with that new card, it gives you a message and runs the dealer AI and shows you the dealer's hand at the end. And then if you didn't bust, it continues to the next iteration and lets you get another card. The run dealer AI function is a function implemented in many different instances in our main GUI. It's called in 1-player mode after player 1 is either busted or ended or stood. And in 2-player mode, it's called when after both players have either busted or stood, or either one. It uses a series of if-else statements and is very similar to the hit 1 and hit 2 buttons to assign cards and images, or card values and images to the dealer's hand. This is similar right here. And it also allows the dealer to choose whether he uses an ace as an 11 if his hand is, if the total numeric value of his hand is less than 11, which would put him at 21 if it's 10. And then it uses a series of if-else statements to determine a winner. And if in 1-player mode, if player 1 wins, it gives you a cheering sound. If the dealer wins, then it gives you a sad trombone sound. And in 2-player mode, if both players win, then there is a cheering sound right here. And if the dealer wins and no players win, then there's a sad trombone sound. Basically, it iterates all of the logic each time the dealer gets a new card, because this is when it's checking to see if the dealer is busted. And if the dealer is busted, then you immediately go into see and you start comparing values.
It's important to note that in the global workspace, these images are part of a card deck struct where all the 52 cards have an image and numeric value. As you can see here, there's just lines of code for that, and then we make that global so we could use it in the .m file for the game. So when the cards are dealt to the players, they're added to a numeric array for both the player and the dealer, and that would also be added if the 2-player option was selected. So if there's to be 2 players, we click the radio toggle, and then it deals them in and adds another array. So the actual player choices are implemented in which the player presses hit to receive a new card, which concatenates another card value from the struct into their array, in this case a 6. So and you pretty much deal till you're satisfied. I think I have a 13, so I think I had a good chance, but no, I busted, dang. So it displays a busted sign. And for this one we could click stand if we're satisfied. Well, dealer won, so we lost. But at the end of the turn, player 2 plays yes, and if the player 2 doesn't exist, there's an if code to switch to the dealer performs their turn, and via their Boolean code, which is hit if less than 17, they hit more cards, and it worked. They won, and now that every turn is complete, you heard the loss sound actually, and then this negative sound played due to our sound YFS function. And now that the game's over, we can press quit or exit in the top left corner, and it just closes out the code without closing out the window.
And just to reiterate, our thing consists of 2 .m files, and then the way we did our scoring values was a bunch of if-else statements, and then as well as Boolean expressions. And that is it. Thank you very much for listening. Bye.